Hi everyone, my name's Allison and I am the Vinted Value Mama. Today I'm going to be talking about the things you should always buy used. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing my number one tip for saving money instead of wasting money. So be sure to stick around for that. The first thing I want to talk about today are simple appliances. These are so amazing to buy used. I'm talking about your stand mixers, I'm talking about your hair dryers, your popcorn makers, anything that hasn't really changed since like the 80s. It's going to last you a really long time. I've got my electric mixer that I bought secondhand, and it's still doing absolutely fine for me. You want to make sure this isn't anything with an app you need to download or a computer chip inside. It's a simple appliance. We've got a microwave up in the kitchen that our old roommate bought off eBay for €1, and it's like this big, but it's still a perfectly good microwave that warms up food. That's the kind of thing you should be looking for secondhand. You can really save a lot of money. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of a no-brainer if you ask me, and that is kids stuff. I've shared before how this dress for my daughter was the first thing I ever bought off Vinted because there's just no point spending a lot of money on kids stuff. They're going to grow out of it too quickly. They're going to get it dirty right away. They're going to break things. The one exception to this rule is safety equipment. A car seat or a helmet, that you should always buy new, but any other kid stuff, buy it used. I've got all of my Christmas presents for my daughter secondhand this year. She's 8 years old now and she doesn't care. All of the other kids in her class are turning 9 and I'm buying all of their birthday presents used. They don't care. Save yourself money, and the good news is with all of the money you've saved, you can buy even more. I also really wanted to talk about things for your pets. Anyone who's ever had a cat knows that you can buy them all of the cat furniture and the cat toys that you want. They might not actually play with them. And there's a million people out there who are trying to get rid of their unused cat toys, pet furniture, dog treats, all of that stuff. Your pets also aren't going to care if they've been gently used or not. Another thing you should definitely be buying used if you're a reader are books. If you want like absolutely perfect, never been touched by human hands before, then yeah, you're going to have to buy new books. But used books are still going to be just as entertaining for you to read. This really goes for all physical media. So if you're the type of person who collects DVDs and Blu-rays, definitely buy those used. You can get them for absolutely nothing online, and they're still going to be just as entertaining for you. Another thing that I really recommend buying used is exercise equipment. Ugh. So it's possible to buy exercise equipment that's really plasticky and gimmicky and going to break. But if you're talking about dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, They are absolutely indestructible. It doesn't matter at all if someone else has used them before. And the secret is, no one else has used them before. Someone probably bought them as a New Year's resolution or because they had a trip they were trying to get ready for, and then never really used them at all. So they're selling them for good prices now online. I will say, with things like dumbbells, barbells, be sure to check what the weight is. Some people are trying to sell these little tiny 2 kilo dumbbells for like 25 euros, and that's not going to be a good value for you. The next thing I want to talk about is occasional wear. Anything that you wear sort of temporarily or every once in a while. You really don't want to be spending a lot of money on these items. So I've got my daughter's fashion costume from last year as an example of this. I actually bought this on Vinted for €1 plus shipping, and she got a perfectly good fashion costume. There's no reason to pay any more money than that. I think one of my worst purchases I ever made was when we first moved to this house in the mountains. I needed some snow boots that were really good for mountain trekking. So I bought these new ones from Iowa, and I think they were like 180 euros, maybe 160. I absolutely hate them. They're not very warm. The shoelaces are all broken now. It's possible that I wouldn't hate them if I had spent 10 euros on them instead of 180 euros, but here we are. And the point is, even here in snowy Austria, in the mountains, I need these boots maybe 4 or 5 days a year. It's not something I need to be spending a lot of money on. Also think about maternity clothes, things that you're only wearing for a brief period of time. Your formal wear, if you're invited to a nice party or a wedding. Why would you want to spend a lot of money on a dress that you're going to wear once? I did that with my wedding dress. Never again. Similarly, if you're trying something new, save money on that. Don't spend money on that. If you want to take up knitting, there's no reason for you to go out and buy every bit of knitting equipment that you need new. You can probably find on eBay somebody selling their granny's old knitting bag with all sorts of good stuff in it for a really great price. And much like with the New Year's resolution and the exercise equipment, it could be that in a month or two you decide you're really not that into knitting. And that's when it's good that you haven't spent a whole load of money on it. This is also true with your fashions. If you want to try something radically different, buy it secondhand first. If you think, being goth is back in these days, I could be goth. Instead of going out and buying black Doc Martens for God knows how much, buy some really similar black shoes used for like 10 euros, and then you can see if being goth is really for you, or if you feel a bit silly when you're picking your daughter up from school dressed like that. And if you decide, I'm not gonna wear the Doc Martens anymore, at least you haven't spent a lot of money on them. Now that brings me back around to my number one tip if you want to save money instead of wasting money buying secondhand things, and that is don't buy something that you don't need. It doesn't matter how cheap it is. If you don't actually use it, you're still wasting money. I would love to buy a whole bunch of really pretty dresses for myself, but we don't have any weddings coming up. When am I going to wear that? I would love to have the big KitchenAid stand mixer instead of my little handheld mixer. But there's not really a lot of recipes that use the big stand mixer that I can't make work with the handheld mixer. It doesn't matter if the weights are super cheap. If it's a 2 kilo weight, it's going to be too light for me. And if it's a 20 kilo weight, it's going to be way too heavy for me. I can't use either one of those things, and it's still going to be a waste of money. If you would like more tips for buying and selling secondhand, I would really love it if you could subscribe to my channel. And if you're thinking about trying vintage specifically, be sure to check out this video on the 7 things you should know before you start shopping. Thank you for watching. Bye! If you would like more tips and